Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me, Seshadri. And before we get to the episode previewing Liverpool versus Arsenal, I do want to clarify a few things. So, first of all, I couldn't do a Raw Reactions episode or a preview episode for the Lincoln City game, which was the Carabao Cup game. For those of you who don't know, because I was unwell and I couldn't bring myself to record an episode or edit an episode or do anything really. So I was just really unwell and. I couldn't bring myself to do it. So no disrespect to Lincoln City, but it's just one of those things that happens during the course of a year. But yeah, that's why we didn't have an episode for Lincoln City. This episode previewing the Arsenal game was recorded last Tuesday, so it's about a week old. So in light of sort of recent news that Thiago may not start, Allison may not start for Liverpool, again, just like with the Chelsea episode, I couldn't predict all of these things. So these things are stuff that came up later during the week, and I haven't even checked up on what Arsenal's team news has been so far. And we'll see how it goes, but do keep that in mind when you're listening to this episode. And the final thing is, normally I release this preview episodes the day before the game, but again, because I was unwell and I couldn't really sit and edit anything until this Sunday. I'm doing this on the Sunday, the night before the game between Liverpool and Arsenal. So, which is why I'm releasing it on Monday morning, about 10 or 12 hours before the game. But normally that's not how I do it. Hopefully, normal service should resume for the week after. I think we're playing Aston Villa. And speaking of Aston Villa, if you guys do know any Aston Villa fans, do put them in touch with me if they might be interested in doing a podcast, because I've tried a lot and I don't have any Aston Villa fans as contacts, or like friends of friends or whatever. But if you guys do know any Aston Villa fans who might be interested, do put them in touch with me. My Instagram is Seshadri SS, that is SESHADHRI, followed by the letter S. And yeah, just put them in touch with me. My Twitter is sesh_1214. So again, just anywhere, Twitter, Instagram, either one is fine. Just put them in touch with me if there is an Aston Villa fan interested in doing a podcast next week previewing the game. Otherwise, I will do the preview of the game myself, because I realize that I'm not going to get fans for every single club, at least not in the initial years of the podcast. But yeah, that about brings me to an end to this intro. But hopefully, you guys do enjoy the episode that I recorded with Abhishek, and I will see you guys on the other side. It's been 2 weeks of Premier League football, and it's been an exciting 2 weeks of Premier League football, and at the end of which only 5 sides have a 100% record. Leicester City, Everton, and Crystal Palace are three of the teams who've got off to a perfect start, but the other two in that list are going to meet next week, meaning one or potentially both of them could lose a 100% winning record. Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Red Mist podcast with me, Seshadri, and joining me to preview the game between Liverpool and Arsenal is Abhishek Haran from Chennai, is it?
Yeah, I'm from Chennai.
Right. So how are you, Abhishek?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good as well. I want to start with, like I said, it's been 2 weeks of Premier League football. So your first thoughts on the Fulham game and the West Ham game? They were quite different wins for Arsenal, I think.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, those two games were not identical, or the way in which the campaign. I would not say I'm not convinced with the West Ham result as well, because that was slightly troublesome game for us in terms of how they sat back, and when they had the opportunity to go on a counter attack with Antonio holding the ball well. It was more or less like we were not able to do it. And also, I've got to mention that game was a very tough introduction to Premier League for Gabriel, who we just signed from the French league, and it is the ideal kind of a centre forward, or a player who uses physicality and who can hold the ball as well. I
Yeah.
think he did well. And regarding the Fulham game, it is very it wasn't that difficult for us. The first 5-10 minutes, maybe they would have shown that they are actually a good side with the ball. They're very good with the ball, but one thing what they were lacking was that they didn't have that what to say, that inner instinct or something. Not the right word, maybe. Yeah, but the right word thing is that they couldn't find that space in the the final half of that or something. They were missing something, but they were stitching together a good pass and here and there taking us wide or something like that. The game was done and dusted. Willian was absolutely phenomenal that game, and he just ran the show that game. It was a game of good introduction to Arsenal for Willian.
Absolutely. I think Willian was easily one of the best performers on that day. Like on opening weekend as well. Like the whole weekend, I think Willian was one of the best performers. And the West Ham game, I think for me, I think what was interesting was what Arteta said after the game. He said if this was the Arsenal when I took over, then we would have probably lost that game or drawn that game. But I think it's a good characteristic of a team when they can grind out results like this. So, I mean, last season, for example, as a Liverpool fan, we've had a lot of games like that. Like, I think Aston Villa was one major one. We were 1-0 down till like the 85th minute.
Headed by Sadio Mane in the end. Sadio Mane headed
So I mean, it's important to win games like that. I think you're not always going to win playing very beautiful football. Like sometimes it's going to be like this. And so we mentioned Willian. Who else has impressed you out of all the Arsenal players in these two games?
I think these two games, Rob Holding has been solid because there was too much of rumors about Rob Holding going on a loan to Newcastle. They were trying to sign him, and we have like 7 centre backs, of which only 3 of them are fit. And Lewis had a neck problem when Gabriel came in after the Community Shield. We were not sure what we were going to do. But see, the problem with our backline is that I'm not a big fan of Sead Kolasinac playing at the left centre back position or something like that. I would prefer a player who could be versatile on both the field to play. Because I feel Kolasinac is slightly not suited for that role, and he is physical, absolutely agreed. But the body positioning is not in such a way that he could turn and pass it on the right. There are very very minute passes which he can make by turning his body to the right, open the other side. He always wants the ball on the left feet, which you're not going to get when teams are going to press high. I would be shocked if he starts the game versus Liverpool because whenever he has started at the left centre back position, they've been horrible. I've been very, very critical on that because I think the best, cheapest, or what do you call the bargain signing which Arsenal have done in the recent time is Kieran Tierney from Celtic. I've been following him since the Celtic days and how good of a player he is. He just puts his head down, no drama, no hype, nothing. Just a proper old-fashioned footballer. I think he should be fine. He just had a tight hip. I just checked with my people, or across the Europe who are physiotherapists and something. I don't think it is as, I'm just fingers crossed, it's not as big as a deal as they told. Even Arteta as well confirmed it's not as bad as what they were portraying. Hopefully, Kieran Tierney should come in.
Yeah, hopefully. He was out with some hip injury, I think, before training, correct?
Yeah, it's a hip tightness. It's not it was a hip tightness, I believe.
Okay.
I think when he was warming up, he's not too comfortable, and it was good on him to tell Mikel or the support staff or anyone that he's having a tight hip because considering Liverpool in the mind. Tony is going to be a very important player for us. I would not say I could easily say more than Oba or anything. Against such a quality side, I bank on Kieran Tierney. It's always going to be defense which wins you so many games against so much team. You're not going to get so much of space running forward. I don't think we are yet there to play 4 at the back. If it is going to be 4 at the back, I think Kieran Tierney would be putting in a shift going up and down. He's a good, very good player. Hoping things go well for him.
Absolutely. So Kieran Tierney, he's going to be very important if he does play. I think he's easily one of Arsenal's best defenders, if not the best. And we mentioned Gabriel. Thoughts on how he has played so far? He had a scoring debut against Fulham, and then the West Ham game also came about. Have you been impressed with him?
Absolutely, but it is all early days. I am absolutely, confident that he's settled into the team. We're having a mini Brazil unit, right from our sporting director to Willian to David Lewis and everybody. So it's not going to be a big, thing for him to settle down in the Premier League. It's going to be like more or less of a normal, thing. But the way he's been playing around, the way I haven't seen him play in the French leagues for long, but certain games and certain clippings I've seen him, he was too good. He's too good. The right kind of center back, what we needed for a long time. Physical, tall, whatever the attributes which Arsenal lacks. I don't think nobody would disagree on the fact that it's been such a long time. Arsenal had a centre back who were tall, who were good on the ball, who were good on the air, who could not be physically bullied, and was a target in the box. It's been a very long time. They were like not all these characteristics, all the boxes were checked in centre back list. I would say Laurent Koscielny was the one who would be a very good target, or Mertesacker would be a very good target in the box, but they were not as physical as this guy can be and can handle the physicality of the league. It's going to be good for him to, curve and play along with Saliba. Saliba is the one I'm pretty much looking forward to. He's very quick. He's getting adapted to the league, and it's going to be a good time for both of these kids to, start playing for us regularly.
Yeah. And I think for me, Gabriel has been very impressive because he looks very comfortable playing the position that he does. And it look like you said, it looks like he just fits right in with the Arsenal team. It's like he's been there for a few years already. It looks like that anyway. He's, like you said, he's very strong, very capable in the air. And he's got a good tackle also, which was something I noticed in the first two games. And his sense of positioning, I think that is actually a big improvement on what Arsenal previously had with Mustafi and Luis. I think sometimes those two, they're not quite aware of what's going on, whereas Gabriel seems to be more aware. But obviously, Liverpool is going to be his biggest test coming forward.
Yeah.
But before we get to Liverpool, how important was it for Arsenal as a club that Aubameyang signed a new contract?
It is more or less like a new signing or a superstar signing for us. It is a big statement. We as Arsenal fans have been seeing so many good players leading us on so many important junctures of the club evolving. Starting from Robin van Persie, even before that Fabregas, who left to Barcelona.
Yeah.
Van Persie had hit us a long, deep blow. It was a very deep blow. He directly went to our rivals. There have also been chances that Oba was contacted by Manchester United. They were interested, and Barcelona were very much interested in signing him. So it's much more of a bigger statement. I think it wouldn't have been possible had we not got Mikel Arteta in at the right time, and the work what he has done not only with the players. I think the whole infrastructure, right from the way the club moves forward, everything has changed. I think it has got to do more of that. It's a good signing for us. Absolutely, Oba is very critical and very pivotal for us in goal scoring or anything. I also want to add one more thing. Like Oba has always been touted as he's a naughty player, disrespectful in his Dortmund closing days or something. There's a history between the president of Dortmund or someone or sporting director with Oba. It was not a fruitful thing, and he was publicly vocal that he wanted to leave. I am performing, nothing matters if what I wear or something like that. He was accused of indirectly. So I don't think Oba is that bad a player. Oba wants to be, he always wants to feel that he's important to the club or the role. I think Mikel has made sure that, he can win trophies here and he can be much more important. I think that's the reason why he's staying with us. It's a good signing, and I hope and I wish he continues the same form for at least for the last 2-3 years. The golden boot.
Definitely. I think so. For me, I think it's important that Oba signed that new contract because it shows that what Mikel Arteta is doing, that he's doing something right. And because if let's say it was Unai Emery still, and Oba was not happy with what was going on, then there's no chance that he signs that new contract. And the other thing is, I think, like you said, we're used to, like, at least in recent years, we're used to seeing star players leave Arsenal. And for Aubameyang to sign that new contract is a little bit of a statement saying, okay, I'm not going to leave this club because this club has something solid. This club has a solid foundation now with Mikel Arteta. I think, that's I think the biggest thing for me. I mean, I'm not an Arsenal fan, but like looking from the outside, that's what I could see, that, okay, he believes in Arteta. And I think the fact that Arteta won the FA Cup also, I think that helped. Mikel Arteta was, speaking of Mikel Arteta, what are your thoughts? Like, obviously, he's brought a lot of changes to Arsenal as a club. do you think? See, one thing with a lot of previous Arsenal managers, maybe not the managers themselves, but the fans were like, okay, the manager's not getting the money to spend. Arteta seems to be doing more with what limited money he has than the previous managers. Is that something that you would agree with?
Yeah, I would always, I've always believed in Wenger ever since, I started watching football. Maybe, yeah, Wenger has always been that kind of a player who always, when he finds a player, he just wants to do the role of a manager is to coach anybody who's given to him and then bring whatever the talents are with him. I think Mikel goes well with that as well. He just gels with that idea of bringing what is the best among the players with a bunch of players, whatever he has at his disposal. Like, that should be the thing. And see, there are so many other things which go along with the last manager which we had, and I felt that at one point I felt that we should give Unai more time. But guess I was proven wrong. I was taken aback with the way we were playing and where we were sitting in the table. Things were looking so gloomy. I think Mikel has changed the entire mindset and he's brought a sense of belief to us Arsenal fans across the globe. We've not won anything pivotal in the last 10 years, apart from the FA Cup, or never been a team who were tough to beat. That was not at all there. When we go away, we would be bullied left, right, and center to an away stadium in Premier League in the top five or top six, apart from Everton. Everywhere we go, we'll make a win in Old Trafford, but we haven't won. We haven't done anything against City or Liverpool or say Chelsea as well in Stamford Bridge. Nothing of that sort. It's always going to be a tough task when he took over. I was always wondering, could he do it? Will he be able to handle the pressure? I think he's handled it pretty much, much more than what people had told of him. I think he should have been the one who should have replaced, when Wenger left or something like that. We were in to sign him, but we couldn't get it done. We went for an experienced candidate out of the box. Unai Emery was selected. That was the biggest, something which didn't work well with us. Nothing bad on Unai. There was two things. He didn't have the language too, and the communication with the media was not being done in the right way. I feel there was too much negativity after we lost that Europa League to Chelsea. I should always say that. That was a big, big dagger in the heart of all the Arsenal fans as well as the players who played there. So many of them were felt distraught. And I remember Lacazette telling us when we won, we were going to take a final or something like that. That was the most loneliest flights I've ever been since my playing career. Nobody had a word with any of the players. So that was inflicting pain. And when something happens like that, when you're not lifted with the spirits in the team, you're not going to win anything inside the dressing room. Obviously, it was happening, and I think it was good for him to go without taking us too low, and for him also his reputation wasn't tarnished. I hope him well, and maybe it didn't work with us. But as far as Mikel, it's just good signs. I'm very pleased to see the results what we're doing. I think as a fan, I should honestly say that I've got a sense of belief. Certain games I would skip saying that the result would be only this in the recent years. I wouldn't even find a time. Maybe I'll just watch it on and off, on and off. But I know what the result will be. Either it's going to be 4-1, 3-1, 5-1, or 3-0, 2-0, something like that. It's an away game. Now, so many of my friends, we all are back together. Like how we want to watch the game. We're confident that we're not going to be bullied. That sense of belief is there in the team as well as with the fans. Like we're not okay if we lose, it's okay, but we're not going to go down without putting a show. That one thing which was visible when Mikel took over was that draw in Stamford Bridge. With that 10 men, they would go on and draw 2-2 against Lampard's 11. That was a statement actually put out that this team can do, and we would be able to manage. Even if we go 2-0 or 2-1 down, something like that, we would try even with 10 men. That was a statement of intent. I'm very happy with the way team is performing. I think it's an exciting time to be an Arsenal fan. Provided we sign two more signings of the rumors of Partey and or someone like that, it would be an absolute beautiful time to be an Arsenal fan.
Definitely. I think Thomas Partey. I think it looks quite likely that he will join Arsenal. And Houssem Aouar, if he joins Arsenal, will. I mean that's a very good addition. I mean, especially considering the quality that he had, that he has even now, and Arsenal's coming to Anfield to play Liverpool. Anfield's not been the best of grounds for Arsenal in recent years. But you've watched Liverpool the last two games. I don't know if you've watched the one against Leeds and the one against Chelsea.
I watched it. I watched it.
Yeah. So, what are your thoughts as an Arsenal fan looking at that? Looking at those two games, because so I'll just say, see, the Leeds game was offensively it was good. Defensively, we were missing, and the Chelsea game, I think we were helped out a lot by Christensen's red card. So, but what are your thoughts looking at Liverpool as in those two games?
Yeah. See, I have huge respect for what Klopp has done when he took over. I should be very honest. There's no cheating about here. I wasn't, as a rival fan, I wasn't feeling like, oh, what is he going to do? I was there. I think I have like 6 or 7 friends who are Liverpool supporters, and yeah, as you say, coming back to this season, whatever they've done till last season, it's absolutely commendable, and Klopp always has my respect as a rival fan, and I look up to him. There's so many things Klopp has taught me in the last 1 year in terms of philosophy, how you see things, and other things. Second thing I want to comment on these two games. What I saw was one. I think against Leeds, Leeds showed that counter pressing will work against Liverpool. Counter pressing is one of the way by which either ways you can do against them, or if you're very good at sitting back and hitting them on counter, that can be done. So that is a very more or less used strategy. I don't think that would work always. But I think Marcelo Bielsa has done such a commendable job in the championship itself. That 4-3, it shouldn't have been 4-3. It should have been more than that. It should have been like 5-3 or something like that. 5-3. Not even the third goal was okay. He scored it from the middle of the box. That first hit was absolutely phenomenal. But apart from that, I think the defense. Maybe I always feel that whenever Van Dijk is at his prime, not prime as in not that prime. I'm saying whenever it is at his fullest, that height, what he has told us, like this is Van Dijk. I will play like this. The opponents, as a rival, I know how Van Dijk plays at the top of his game. Right? I didn't feel that he was sharp against the Leeds game, and as well as Andy Robertson, who wasn't as sharp. I've always seen Andy Robertson as a threat when he goes across the left. Coming back to the second game, it all changed with Kepa doing the favors of putting that slotting that second ball in, and the first one, Christensen. It was a tackle which reminded me of Matthew Guendouzi doing it on Will Zaha when they were doing a counter attack against Crystal Palace. It was more or less like a suplex, some kind of a wrestling thing what they do. Yeah, it was there, and see for what Lampard was speaking and buying players and saying he's gonna. It's not happening with Lampard. I can see. Had it been someone else with this result or with this kind of a shambolic performance like us, Arsenal, we would have been written all over the papers, media, Twitter, everywhere. We would have been made fun of with such a team. But hey, it's Lampard. It's the poster boy of England. So they won't do it. They're still like, oh, it's Lampard. Second thing I learned from that game was Thiago is going to be one of the best central midfielders to create this season. Forget Kevin De Bruyne, forget anybody. He can create assists, absolutely. Hats off to Kevin De Bruyne. He's on a different level. The way Thiago just controlled after that 45 minutes, spraying the passes from right side of the midfield to left side to Andy Robertson, and then going again towards the chip to Salah. He tried so many other things that I think that was the one thing which was missing in Liverpool's attack. Somebody operating from that deep, able to find a visionary pass or something. They were able to do. Henderson was absolutely great in the last season. Henderson has been one of the best central midfielders for Liverpool in the last season, and with Fabinho playing on the centre back, I think Fabinho should come back to the normal position. If Joe Gomez is not fit or Matic is not fit, maybe he can play. But I think Thiago is going to run a show against so many big teams. If it is going to be Man City, I think he'll rip them open. If Jordan Henderson pushes on the right, Thiago on the centre, and Fabinho or Gini plays on the left, it's going to be a difficult thing. The connect which he has with Andy Robertson and I correct me if I'm wrong. I think this role of Thiago might take a little bit of pressure off, Trent. Trent seems to be bombing too forward, and there are so many spaces left behind him. I think that was one thing which the midfield didn't offer, I believe. I think that would ease some pressure of Trent, and Trent could still be playing how he plays, but there's Thiago who could construct construct the midfield and master the game, a tempo of the game. I think it's going to be crucial that somehow Thiago has an off day against us. I want Thiago to play well in the Premier League, not against us. Let him have a 5 out of 10 or 7 out of 10. 7 itself, he will destroy us. Still, it's quality. It's a steal deal for 20 odd million or something. It's an absolute steal. I'm not sure how Bayern were accepting it. Maybe they were out of their brains or something. But 20 million for such a quality player is astonishing to get him this time. This period of inflated market, I'm surprised.
I
I also want to say not only this deal, commendable job of the recruitment team of Liverpool have done is so good, man. It's such a very well planned transfer, whatever they have done till now. Even the players who they sold, like the guy who they sold to Bournemouth, Dom Solanke,
Solanke, yeah,
he wasn't that 22 million worth, 18 or 22 million worth. He wasn't that worthy, but they just sold him for that money again.
yeah.
It's always there. I feel like they buy somebody and they sell them to a very good rate. Currently, the champion. So if somebody goes from them, obviously there will be quality that would be there. But still, I feel it's going to be a tough game for us to play against that midfield because our midfield is currently is Xhaka who is doing pulling the strings with Dani Ceballos. I also want to say I might not be this related to the topic or the question, but I feel Xhaka has improved immensely under Mikel Arteta
Yep.
in terms of the way he had an image down with Emery and the chance of him saying things to the crowd or the public, and then he was stripped of the captaincy. This phrase just astonishes me. Let it run from it, but destiny will arrive. Granit Xhaka, I think he is my captain any day. Oba is great. Everything is fine. Oba score goals. He can be the club captain for me. Granit is the captain. He just knows. I think the game he played Switzerland versus Germany, Granit was pulling the strings there as well. I was just streaming it to watch him. His confidence ooze out. And last game, I think against West Ham, he had 15 diagonals hit
Mm.
to the wings by Granit Xhaka. I think that's the longest number in terms of what he has ever tried. Either he would be out of position or he would have to track back. That was his role under Unai Emery. I was not sure what coaching was given to him or the structure was given to him, but I feel confident that you know I'm not saying we are hopeful of winning it against Liverpool because Liverpool, Man City are like in level 5. We're in level 2 maybe after Mikel has taken us over from level 0 to level 2. We have come across. There's still so many steps to take, but I feel confident. I'm not rattled by the fact that I'm going to face Liverpool. I told you earlier I would be dreaded in my dreams of facing these away games. I know what result is. Even Unai Emery told that this 5-1 before that game happened. After the game happened, the players were very much scared to come and play in Anfield or City or Etihad or anywhere because the level of play and the things around this atmosphere was so different to what they want. So the mentality of the players was completely down before even board of the bus. I think we were like, okay, we'll forget this day. We'll play 90 minutes, do something, come out, we'll go for the next game. I think that mentality is killed. I think you will see a good Arsenal. Will not give it up easily. I believe the toughness is there. Here and there, we never know. The champions might unlock like 4 or 5 doors at once. We never know. With quality-wise, Liverpool are always ahead of us in terms of the midfield and the backline. I feel backline is okay, but still the midfield is the one thing which I'm worried about. Ozil is not in. Ozil, I don't know if he will ever be in. That's one drama which is going on. But still, in terms of Thiago, Henderson, Fabinho, and Gini, I think Granit Xhaka and Dani Ceballos have a huge game to play. The last time Dani Ceballos played in Anfield, he didn't have a touch on the ball for the first 40 minutes. I believe, if I'm not wrong, he was on to the right side, tracking on the right side of the midfield, tracking back people. I think they were like close to 40 crosses or 50 crosses in that first half itself from Andy Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold. So that didn't work. I think that was not the right strategy, but I still feel, we haven't played our ideal formation. I feel that we could play 4 at the back with the right personnel in left back, Kieran Tierney, Gabriel, Holding, or even Saliba, and the right back. I feel it should be Cedric right now. I'm a big fan of Hector Bellerin, but Bellerin has not been hitting that right consistency in terms of delivering the crosses or tracking back. it's a big injury, ACL. I know about the injuries, so it's going to be a tough time for him to come back to hit his pace. He's called the Flash by the the Arsenal unit. He was the fastest until Aubameyang arrived. Even he was able to outrun Falcott and Alexis Sanchez on 100 meters. So that's crucial. He's lost his pace, yes, but in terms of positional play, it's okay than Cedric. But if somebody wants to attack on the right wing, I think Cedric is the right guy to go. He can do it on both the feet. He's under the radar actually. He's been underplayed too many occasions right now because I'll tell you what the problem is. We have like so many lesser homegrown players registered with our setup right now. We have so many other nationalities registered. So it might be difficult for him to get into that 18 traveling every day or something because Maitland-Niles has put in a terrific shift in the last 3-4 months. He's got a call up and he could play anywhere. He could play right back, left back, wing back. Yeah, I think only goalkeeping he could not do. Centre back as well, maybe. He could play anywhere. You ask him to run somewhere, he'll be running there. It was a good strategy. He could bombard on the left side. But I feel that it should be. I think we've given out a strategy of ours. I think Klopp would be aware of it. To come all guns blazing at Anfield. The first 15 minutes are going to be crucial until even if we don't have the ball, if we have the right structure, if we could slow the tempo down and maybe Thiago doesn't start, yeah, we have a chance. Maybe if Thiago doesn't start.
I think Thiago will start. I think the last game itself, I think the only reason he didn't start was because he had only 1.5 training sessions with the team, and Klopp was like, I'm not going to start a new player in the very first game. I think the game at Anfield, whoever gets that first goal, I think that's going to be very important. And Arsenal have looked very capable of scoring. That's one thing Arsenal have never, at least this season and recent games since Emery took over and since restart especially, like that's one thing Arsenal have not failed to do, is to score. And so I think whoever gets that first goal, if Aubameyang can get a breakthrough or if Lacazette can get a breakthrough within the first 20 minutes, then I think the game becomes a lot more difficult for Liverpool after that. But a couple of things. I will agree with you that Xhaka he's been immense since Arteta came in. I mean, I think this was a very confident Xhaka, like you said. Like, he was, like you said, he was just oozing confidence. Even when he played for Switzerland, even when he played for Arsenal. Yeah. And I think Arsenal, as much as I like Cedric and Hector Bellerin, I think Maitland-Niles might be the best option to play against Liverpool, because one, he seems to be a little more defensively aware compared to the other two, even though Cedric is quite good. I think Maitland-Niles, like you said, he's put in a really good shift at right back, left back, wherever. And Tierney has to play. Like, if he is fit, he just definitely has to play. There's just no question about that. And I think a lot will depend on two players, I think. One is Gabriel, and how he handles the movement of the front three. Not just him, but the whole back line. But especially because Firmino is not your traditional striker. So, Firmino moves all over the place. So how he handles that movement between Firmino, Mane and Salah is going to be crucial. And the other person, like you said, is Dani Ceballos, because whenever Arsenal have the ball, I think he's going to be what Thiago is to Liverpool, I think, is what Ceballos will be to Arsenal. Like, that's how important he is. So he's going to be the one who's going to have to decide whether he wants to push the tempo, push the ball forward, or whether he wants to keep possession for some time. I think him and Xhaka are going to be the ones who decide that. So yeah, I think it's going to be an interesting game. I think my thing was, this is a weird thing. Like, whenever two teams who play attacking football meet, for some reason, the first 10 minutes they're two extremes. They're either very attacking, both of them, like in the Leeds United game, or they're very cagey. Where, both of them are trying not to concede first. And then, slowly you can see like they're both growing into
the Man City game 0-0, which was played, Mahrez will miss a penalty in the end of the game against Liverpool. They were very cautious. They didn't want to lose a point. They were just playing, okay, we'll pass it to Ederson again. That game, I remember. That would suit the example which you told me. They were just so cautious. They didn't want to, score or let a goal be scored.
Yeah, because I think the game before that, or the games before that, whether it was I think we met in the Champions League before against City, and I think we played them in the league also in that 4-3 game where Salah chipped Edison from pretty much halfway line. So I think those games, City just came out and tried to attack, and they got caught. So then the next season, they were like, okay, when we go to Anfield, we're not attacking that much now. So yeah, it can go either way. So I don't know how. I don't know what Arteta's game plan is going to be. I think the first. I think it'll be important for Arteta not to concede first. I think that's just my guess. I think the first 10-15 minutes, if Arsenal can hold out and see the first 10-15 minutes out, then I think it'll be a difficult game for Liverpool, and Arsenal I think will grow more into the game after that. But that's just my opinion. So, what are your predictions?
I think
Sorry. Yeah,
Willian
go
would
on,
be a
go on.
very key player in that.
Sorry.
Sorry, I think that I think the space behind. I don't think Robertson is going to come back or such a time. It's going to be Fabinho replaced in the centre midfield and Van Dijk on the other side. That's going to be the place where Willian can be there. The
Mm,
problem which we had last time when we started at Anfield, I still remember that that game where we lost 3-1. Nicolas Pepe had three chances in the first 23 minutes of the game.
yeah.
Three horrible chances he missed. The one time he just spun around Virgil and he went past. Second time he hit straight to at the hands of Adrian. There was no power, there was no conviction. The angle was just there, but it was very straight. The third time he just hit a crossbar or something. I don't remember. Three chances he missed. I think that's the space where William would be clinical more. He would take it to the wider side, or he would be direct in going to the central line or something where Oba can cut in the left. Always, I feel that there's less because of Thiago. I think Robertson might be the one who might be attacking, and I think Trent would be on the right side of the midfield or somewhere around that, not being too much explosive, unlike the other times. Because Thiago would be the one who would be constructing the play more or less often. It depends on where Thiago is, or if he's being surrounded by two players running across him, maybe Trent would be going forward. If there is space and time, Thiago would operate in. The space behind Trent Alexander-Arnold is the space where Oba should outrun. Maybe that old strategy which worked in the community shield, I believe, where
Yeah.
Maitland-Niles ran across that space and Oba was cutting in. That overload created some sense of that confusion. I'm not sure if there's a confusion or that overload man marking was not there, and so many times Virgil had to step out of that side or Gomez had to come out of that side. I think that's the space. I think more or less every team have tried it. They failed it last season. It's no wonder that it's going to be working anyway soon. But I don't think we will go on attack. We don't have that that firepower in the back line yet. With the four at the back, maybe five at the back. Mason ends will start as an inverted fullback or something like that. With Bellerin coming into the midfield, Mason Niles might be the one who will be pushing forward on the right, on the left. He might change positions like an inverted midfielder kind of a thing, which is being employed every time around. Sometimes he runs on the left, sometimes he runs on the right. Uh, it depends on who has the ball. If it's going to be, I've just noticed this. I'm not doing right. If Granit Xhaka has the ball. Oba is waiting for the long bus, the long ball to be put behind the back line or behind the centre backs or something. I think Maitland Niles makes a run forward along with Kieran Turney. You had noticed that goal where he ran past Neco Williams on the same goal he hit on the first game or something else as well. He would just cut in. The one guy who was standing between Neco Williams and the other centre back was Maitland Niles. The guy behind on the left side flank overloading was Kieran Turney. I think that should be the way which we might as well play. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy game. I think Liverpool might be the one who might pull off a win. It's Anfield. They haven't lost for the last 2 years, I believe. Might
Yeah.
be wrong with the years or numbers, but yeah. So I am hopeful that we would, even if we lose, there's no shame in accepting that they were a better team. But I'm not going defensive, right? But yeah, they're way ahead of us in terms of the quality and the structure. It's taken 2 years or 3 years of Klopp to build the philosophy of what and how we wanted to play. It didn't happen in one season.
Mm,
The first season where he came in, of course they were shipping goals in, but the goals are always there. They were scoring four, they might concede two or one or two or three sometimes like that. But still, it takes time for Mikel. I think Arsenal's biggest problem, as you told, has always been the defense, the errors in defense. When Mustafi plays or something, him being a World Cup winner and still making errors, I don't know, but I think he was a far more improved player like Granit Xhaka as far as when Mikel Arteta took over. He was slightly disciplined with the way he played, and he didn't commit as much as fouls as David Luiz has been doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, everybody's
So
game has stepped up, but I feel that this we might go for a draw. We will two, but being
okay.
very optimistic and very too much of positivity. I might say 3-1 or 3-2 Arsenal, but I know from whatever we had, it's not going to happen. If it happens, it might be one of the days that I can be very happy about. But even if we put a draw or a good shift, I always wanted Arsenal not to be defeated easily. That deflated mindset has been taken out, I believe, in the fan base. Nobody believes that we're not going to we're going to go there and lose. That mentality is gone. I think we were looking forward. See, if we win, it will be something very historic, like beating someone at their fortress for 2.5 years or 2 years, something odd years. It's a big deal. It's not a joke, but we never know. It's Anfield, it's Klopp, and it's the champions who are having a very good time. So not being very pessimistic about it, but not being very too much optimistic as well. I just want to be neutral. I'm holding out for a draw. That's all.
Okay. So you were going for a 2-all draw, no?
I'm going for a 2-all draw.
Right. So my prediction was, I think it'll be like a lot of people expect a very attacking game, but I think it'll be a very close game. I think there will be attacks, but I think it'll just be like a 1-0 win to Liverpool. I think that's my prediction. But so far I am 0 out of how many ever predictions I have made. So I can't say it's going very well. But but yeah, I think that's kind of that kind of brings us to the end of the podcast episode. Thank you so much for doing this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for this opportunity as well. Yeah, it's my pleasure, doing this podcast when you called in. And Heyman told me as well it was a good thing to do.
Yeah.
I can still talk on and on and on. There's no right platform for me to have a word or something. I should thank Heyman if he's going to hear this, or if I make him hear this. Thank you so much for putting me through this.
No problem. No
And
problem. Absolutely.
thank you so much to you as well.
No problem. Absolutely. And yeah, thanks to Hemant. He was the one who put me in touch with you as well. And so, yeah, no, my thing was this is a Liverpool podcast, yeah, but I don't want it to be only Liverpool, Liverpool, Liverpool all the time. So that's why I kind of get other fans as well. It's nice to have other perspectives. But yeah, thank you again for doing this. And yeah, for those of you listening, this episode is out on Sunday, which is the day before Liverpool play Arsenal at Anfield. So by this point in time, by the time you're listening to this, Arsenal would have played Leicester City in the EFL Cup, and Liverpool would have played Lincoln City in the EFL Cup. So I don't know what result is there. But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode. I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.